Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Reflect and Revive. I want to just take a little bit of time this morning and just going to jump right into that, picking up from last week. We talked about the story of my life. We've been going through the life of Joseph. We talked about early on how God had given Joseph this dream, and due to this dream, he felt like there were these promises that were made. That he was. His brothers became real jealous. They beat him up, threw him in a pit, almost killed him, sold him into slavery, and then he went to Potiphar's house. The Lord was with him. He continued, just walking with God. And because of that, God put him in a place of, honor and put him second in command. And, then he had some false accusations were brought on against him. And then he ended up in prison. And so we're going to kind of pick up with that this morning. And, look at in Genesis chapter 40, it picks back up talking about Joseph when he's in prison. And it says, sometime later, Pharaoh's chief cupbearer and chief baker offended their royal master. He became angry with them and put them in prison where Joseph was. Now, I thought that was kind of interesting because if you just look at that first portion there, it says sometime later. It doesn't really specify how long. Sometimes we can look at other people's situations and we can be like, because we're not going through them, it doesn't feel as long, but for Joseph, I'm sure, this is his life. He's been in prison every day. So sometime later seems really long. But anyway, so I'm going to pick it back up and after some time where they'd all been there together, Joseph basically interprets these two dreams between the baker and you get the baker and the cupbearer. Okay, so the cupbearer comes to him and he's like, "Man, I've had this dream," and Joseph starts to interpret the dream, and basically it was all good news, saying, "Hey, listen, what it means is that within 3 days, Pharaoh's going to restore you back to that position." Okay. And then after that, the baker's like, he's like, "Oh man, that's good news. I should go ahead and share my dream," And so the baker shares with Joseph his dream, and so then we pick him back up here. It's in verse 16. It says, when the chief baker saw that Joseph had given the first dream such a positive interpretation, he said to Joseph, "I had a dream too. In my dream, there were 3 baskets of white pastries stacked on my head. The top basket contained all kinds of pastries for Pharaoh, but the birds came and ate them from the basket of my head." So this is what the dream means, Joseph told him. The 3 baskets also represents 3 days. 3 days from now, Pharaoh will lift you up and impale your body on a pole. Then birds will come and peck away at your flesh. Okay, so not quite the news that he was looking for. He hears the first good report for the cupbearer, and he's thinking, maybe I'll get some good news too. And so he's like, "Nah, not so much. You're going to be killed. It's and I don't really know how else to tell you." And so Pharaoh's birthday comes 3 days later, and both dreams that were interpreted, became true. It came to reality. That's what happened. And what I thought was interesting here, was Joseph was sharing with him, something like telling this the cupbearer, excuse me, was like, "Hey, whenever you get put back in that place, please, just don't forget me, okay? Just remember me. I interpreted this dream for you. Don't forget what I said." All right. And then we look at in Genesis chapter 40 and verse 23, it said, basically forgot all about Joseph, never giving him another thought. So the cupbearer, after hearing this good report, he goes back to Pharaoh, goes back to his place of honor, goes back to, never gave Joseph another thought. And, I thought that was kind of interesting, and that's kind of where I want to look at right now, because just putting yourself in Joseph's shoes right here, and you start to think, you're like, man, this guy can't catch a break, he interprets something for somebody, and they go back to a place of honor where they could say, "Hey, Pharaoh, there's this guy in prison, man. He interprets these dreams. It's kind of crazy. You might want to just check and see. He told me this was going to happen." And it says he left, never giving Joseph another thought. And how many times have we felt, have we done that, where we feel like we've done something to the best of our ability, we've given everything we have, and then, something happens and you just like, people never given another thought. They don't, and you feel abandoned, you feel left out, you feel, forsaken almost. And I was listening to Pastor Ashley's devotion earlier this week, and of course I was like, just kind of laughing a little bit because, that song she used in there, Here Again, it was something that as I was kind of prepping for this, I've listened to it several times throughout this week, and as I started to, kind of put some things together, another portion of that song that's kind of been a huge anthem for me in the times where like I felt, forgot about, I forgot that, or I felt that like nobody was going to be there for me, and like, whenever I was going through this tough situation, but the words say this, it says, like, not for a minute was I forsaken, and so even though like you're in time of difficulty, and time of stress, or you're in time of, you feel like you've been abandoned, or you feel like just things just aren't going your way, just remember that like, not for a second was I forsaken. God is always going to be there walking with you and helping you through each and every single situation. I've learned that myself kind of personally, in those times in my life, and where I just feel like, I feel like I'm trying to do the right thing. I'm trying to, just do what God would have me to do. And I'm doing my best, but it just feels like every single time I get to this place, and it's just, I feel like I've been abandoned. And so, God's kind of using that as like, not for a minute was I forsaken. No matter what you're going through, he has not forsaken you. And, and that he loves dearly, and throughout those moments, and says, hey, look, like, no matter what you're going through, I'm here. I love you. Like, continue to seek me, and things will work out the way that they're supposed to be, but we just have to have that mindset of not my will, but your will be done. All right. So I hope this, I know it's a little bit shorter this week, but I'm just trying to cut it down, but I hope it's been encouragement for you, in those moments where you feel like you're forsaken. God is still there. He loves you. He's with you. He's for you. God bless. Have a great day.